Oh, I didn't see where it went to. Hold on. You want to stop? Cancel. Okay, it's going to the cloud.
Have a good meeting, everybody.
Thank you, Pablo.
Bye,
Bye.
Lisa.
Bye, Pablo. Thanks.
Thank you for everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Well, welcome to our March meeting. I'm just going to quickly make Myra co-host in case my connection drops so everyone doesn't get disconnected. Make co-host. There we go. And Rita can't sign in for some reason. So anyways, hopefully she will get some help. Actually, if you don't mind, we'll start introducing ourselves while I help Rita out to get connected. So I'm Lisa Dowd, Chair of the Aging Committee on Bronx Community Board 8. And if everyone else would say hi, that would be great.
Hi, I'm Myra Joyce,
Hi.
also Aging Committee, CB8.
Georgia Santiago, Community Board 8.
Lee Chong, Community Board 8.
Miriam Rabner, MJHS Hospice and Palliative Care.
Julie Dalton, RSS, Riverdale Senior Services.
Barbara Kale. I'm retired. I was a professor at Fordham University School of Social Work, and I have an interest in aging.
Judith Green, RSS Advisory Council.
Great. Thanks, everyone. We have a quorum. We will be having more people join us, I'm sure.
Herb didn't introduce himself.
Oh,
Good
sorry.
afternoon. Good afternoon, Herb here at this site. Just figured I'd join in to see what we can do.
Terrific, Herb. I'm glad you're joining us. I know you're always with the Parks and Veterans Committee, and I'm so glad that you joined your fellow cohorts here for aging. Great. Well, it will be a relatively short meeting. You know, we usually end in an hour, but today I want to focus mostly on our budget request for fiscal year 25. Oops, somebody else is here. Rita came in. Okay. For fiscal year 25, I think at the last meeting, I went over our fiscal year 24 requests and the responses from Department for the Aging, New York City Aging, as well as other agencies. So I don't know if anyone's given it more thought, but let me see if I can share my screen. So Myra, you'll need to watch out for anyone else joining us. So we can, I'm thinking it'll be very similar, but perhaps we'd like to take some off and add some others. So let's see, share screen. Excuse me, I do talk out loud as I do this. So, come on. Ah, duh, big button. Share screen. Okay, so here we are at the fiscal year 24. And I think, and hopefully everyone agrees that our number one priority is to keep increasing funding for our older adult centers. We have, you know, the reasons here in case for people who can't read the screen, to make sure we can afford qualified staff. Of course, you know, wages need to be increased. Access to mental
Make it lower, I don't know.
Yeah, right. Access to mental health services, funding for licensed social worker, technology infrastructure, and support increased outreach to lessen isolation and potential abuse, and food insecurity, and just to meet all service delivery funding requirements. And I think clearly we want to continue with this. I'm just wondering if we want to do a separate one for the centers, and I'd love to hear some feedback on this one. I know that, I think RSS spoke a little bit, that would be great to baseline some of the funds
Trying to
that,
make it lower.
Rita, you're driving? Sorry.
No, I'm not driving. My boyfriend's driving. I just want to make it a little lower.
Okay. So, yeah, we hear you. So to baseline some of the funds that we get through discretionary fund, council discretionary funds, I'm not quite sure how to bake it in here, unless we have the exact elements that we want to switch over. And I don't know if that's well, we'd have to increase the budget in order, but then probably decrease the discretionary funding in that bucket. Does anyone have any comments or suggestions on how we can include baselining funds in, again, instead of having to go every single year to request the same money, at least with the agency funding, I think it's fixed for 3 years. So there's something that you could rely on, that the money will be there. Does anyone have any suggestions on how we might be able to, or if we can even include it?
Reported ahead on Florida's Turnpike South.
I was the one that brought up that idea because that's something we struggle with every year applying for this. However, for the community board's budget, I'll be honest that for the social adult daycare, NYC Aging has a very small footprint in the city. There's only 9 programs. So even though I think it'd be something that would be great, I don't know in retrospect if the community board really wants to. It'd be different if there were 30 programs that had to, there's only 9.
Okay.
So that's a small footprint. So,
So
yeah,
are the other
go ahead.
state, or are you the only one not funded by the state, but by the city?
I'm not sure of the revenue mix for the others, but we are not funded by the state. Some of the others may also be funded by the state, but we are not. We've pursued it and we haven't yet won a grant there, a contract there.
Okay. I'm asking because the agency's response on number 25 here, if you see it on the screen, that they say it's not recommended for funding, that it's a program funded through Medicaid, which is the health, not the social part of day programs. And they're saying New York State Health administers this program. So it looks like this was a mistake on DFTA's part. I don't know. But okay, but here's another thought for a request, and that's outreach. Maybe we want to separate additional funds for outreach, and that would be like when we had Josue here from the Department for the Aging in an earlier meeting. We had asked, we want to do more pamphlets and outreach to let people in the community know that we are here and there's services and what services the centers provide. And Josue said that they're thinking of putting together a generic one, but then we want to at least customize it to say, in this district, here are your centers. And the other thing was, when we went over the legislative package at the last meeting with Councilmember Dinowitz, there was one, where'd it go? There was one about languages, that there was going to be a survey coming out to see what languages are spoken at the centers and to make sure that our centers have programs available in the different languages that are spoken at the centers. So what I'm thinking is maybe we add another request to provide funding to the centers for outreach and programs and for different cultures and in different languages. Does that make sense at all to anyone? And it's an open question, just throwing out
What
ideas.
subjects that you list under the outreach?
Well, it's to be able to comply and to reach out to the community to let them know what programs are available in their community. That they can get case management assistance, mental health services, food.
What about, can you just put like multilingual and multicultural outreach?
Right, and programming, both,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
anyone else sort of have any particular feelings on that?
You kind of moved from getting funds to doing something in outreach. So you become like a social center. In my own case, I just kept knocking on doors and finally got the councilman to get funds to help out. I think knocking on doors and pestering the politicians is sometimes the best route to be able to get funds. They finally get, don't want to see you at the door anymore, and he says, okay, here's some funds, or whatever that means. In any proper order, I am not very, I don't follow the rules per se.
Right. So you're probably right, Herb. I mean, every year, we get different responses, which is sort of maybe, maybe not. This is from the Department for the Aging and others. So maybe we just then include it under this first category for increasing funding.
Speed check reported ahead on Florida's Turnpike South.
I would include it there because in the recent, a year ago, the RFP, one of the lines that you could apply for in your baseline contract was marketing and outreach.
Oh, okay, so it's
Did
there.
we get a lot of money? No, but we got some. So again, it would be able to increase that funding specifically for marketing and outreach.
Okay, great, thank you. I will make that note. I don't want to start changing it online here, just because it'll take up a lot of time and I'll make typos. But I will add that to this first request for additional outreach and multicultural and multilingual outreach. Great. The other food programs, again, whether it's congregate or delivered or grab and go, or supporting in other ways the pantries that we have. The funds for that come from different sources. But does everyone seem to think that food is number 2 for our list? Okay, well, the other, moving to the,
It's housing, right? Mhm.
right, the third one we have here is affordable housing for people older adults in our district. To allow people to be able to stay in their home and not have to move out of the neighborhood that they're familiar with.
I would perhaps maybe make affordable housing number 2.
Yeah,
Although it's a long shot because we know there's not a lot of funding for affordable housing or even space to do it. But to raise the awareness that it's such a significant issue.
Great. I agree. It's other people, Lee, our housing chair.
I was wondering, I don't know what the status is at HUD for their 202, if there's any 202 funding left any longer. But I think there's a couple of 202 housing in CB8. I think there's one on Broadway that was recently built, maybe within the last 5 years. I don't know if there's, development sites that could accommodate 202 housing. Because that's something to think about, because the 202 housing includes not only seniors, but people with disabilities.
Yeah, I'm not sure if HUD still does the 202 program. That would have to be, verified. Again, I don't, do housing, but
Yeah, I don't know if it exists any longer.
I kind of think it doesn't, that it ran its life course, if you will. But I couldn't swear to that.
Because I haven't heard of any recent developments.
Right, and there's different ways, for affordable housing. Some aren't very affordable. But Georgia, your hand is raised?
Yeah. When Stevenson was there at the meeting, and HUD it's not included as far as 202.
Okay,
Section 202.
section
The
202.
funding. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but it is a need, and yeah, so we'll move forward with that as a request. And I guess move food to number 3, or not, or lower. The next, where do we have here? We have is the affordable housing. The next one was transportation, but the agency's response here in bold was that transportation is being covered in a new request for proposal, new RFP. And I don't know. I mean, we could still keep it in there if
If I could speak to that RFP came out for organizations that are primarily transportation providers. Because there is a distinction between, in the NYC Aging's lexicon, there are older adult centers with transportation, and then there are agencies that do have what they call standalone transportation services. So to qualify to answer that RFP, you'd have to be willing to do like half the Bronx. Basically, currently it's RAIN, and it's, I think, Mid-Bronx has those. So I would say keep transportation up, but like, for example, we would not have the capacity to say we could bid on a contract to provide transportation for half the Bronx.
right, right.
So
what would we call that? Independent transportation or
well, currently how we have it in our baseline contract, it's for the physically frail who are unable to use public transportation. It's not for everybody who wants a ride to and from the center.
Right.
It really is a criteria for it, how it is in our baseline contract. What the two
In 10 miles, take the exit to merge onto I-95 toward US 441.
What the two large organizations that do it, I don't know what their criteria are. If I'm assuming they do medical appointments, they may do, on demand. I'm not really sure.
Okay. Is there a certain term for the transportation that's provided by a center for their frail members? Or, because it looks like DIFTA misunderstood where we were heading with.
Yeah, we call it our RSS transportation services.
Okay, so centers transportation. Okay. Great, so I'll just try to refine the wording so we don't.
I would say center directed so that it is specifically transportation back and forth just to the centers. Isn't that what we're talking about?
Right. I mean, they might also do some trips and they might also do some medical appointment, but it's for their members.
Right. That's for all the clients of the center.
Right. Great. Okay. So I'll make that adjustment in verbiage. George, is your hands up again or just up from before?
No, it's up from before.
Okay, great. Thank you. let's see, so we have the dementia care.
Hazard reported ahead on Florida's Turnpike South in 800 feet.
I guess Rita's in Florida.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
You should mute her, mute her.
Mute her.
Okay. So I think dementia care, we're going to leave out now. And just because it's just confusing between the state and the discretionary funding so far looks like hopefully will continue. If not, we'll do a march on our councilman's office. Safe crossings. And we have to be specific. I know these Social Action Committee at RSS was always very gung-ho and rightfully so in getting different lights, different stop signs. If we're going to ask for it, it looks like we do have to be specific on where we want some changes made. I don't know that I have any in mind now.
We have a list, Lisa, at the Social Action Committee. I think a while ago, we came up, the one I remember is the one on 236th Street and Cambridge, where the 99-year-old lady died, putting a traffic light there. And then also one at Netherland and 236. Also, because there's no stop sign on Netherland, there's one on 236, but a lot of people ignore it. And that's right near the Hebrew Institute of Riverdale.
Okay, well, I will get those very specific things from you later.
Okay.
We could certainly add it. Another was Accessoride. Where are we? You know, there's big tickets and little tickets. So we'll go back to the big ticket, which is Accessoride. And said that this request will be part of the new RFP that will be released in January. First date. I don't, I just have no response to that. Should we keep Accessoride services here? It's a 3-year contract, and now we're looking at fiscal year 2025, which is a new contract year, I think. I guess it can't hurt to keep it back in. We're always having issues with Accessoride. And this is a neighborhood that's very difficult to get around in. We're not Manhattan,
Right. So this is a request for older adults with disabilities?
Or really any disabled person with a disability.
Okay, so aren't they entitled to use Accessoride currently?
Yes, it's just increasing service. There's always complaints. I hear they're trying to fix the program.
Right.
Let's see. I think it's just increased service.
Mhm.
I don't know.
So would a budget request on our part, on CBH's part, actually enable the DOT to increase service on Accessoride? Is this something?
You're right. This is a citywide issue as opposed to a district issue. So maybe we leave that one out. Okay.
That's a good point. Right?
Internet, did someone want to speak? No.
I just said that was a very good point, so thanks.
Yeah. The
What experience have you had with Accessoride reliability? Because when I first signed up with Accessoride several years back, I started using them and it was very unreliable. So I switched to put my hand in my pocket and pay for rides. So you got to ask Accessorite for authorization that they call for, my terrible head. I forgot the words that they use, but I get authorization for a taxi. And they give you a number and you spend your own money and they reimburse you a portion of that money, which isn't all that bad. I find it in the neighborhood of $8 for every $10 you spend. So something on that order. So I think that's more reliable than waiting for their transportation. Sometimes it's a mini bus and picks up several people. And it goes in several directions before it gets to the point that you want to end up at. So I'd rather spend the money today and wait for a refund.
Herb, that's a great idea that we should share with anybody experiencing problems with Accessoride. Thank you. I think the internet access we leave off. It is another citywide effort. And the bus shelter on 231st Street, that's for the Department of Transportation. I don't think we're going there, but we will add, what was it? The safe crossings for the areas, that locations that RSS came up with as needing attention. So we're back. Thank you. So can I just ask the board members for their confirmation? Because we have to get these in by April next month. I don't know that we're going to have a meeting next month. So of the Aging Committee, and we'll talk about that later. So I'd like the committee members to confirm that we will have an increased funding for our centers, adding in the outreach for different cultures and languages in our district. The next one will be affordable housing in our district. This is to prioritize. The third will be food programs because hunger is persistent. The transportation will be the next one, but it's will be more specific, saying that it's for more frail members to avail of going back and forth to the center, to and for other activities or medical appointments from the center, just so it's not getting confused with citywide transportation. We're not going to do dementia care. We will. The last one will be to for the locations that RSS Social Action Committee had designated as as areas that need safe crossings. So are we good? Myra, you're good with that? Great. Lee, are you good with that?
Yes.
Terrific. Rita, are you good with that?
Unmute.
I said that's a yes, right? Okay. And I'm good with that. So that's 4. We have a quorum, and thank you very much. We have our fiscal year. Of course, there's some changes that come up later. Those could be addressed. But for now, this is what we're going to put forward and the prioritization. I don't have a chair's report, except that we might not have a meeting in April. I know many of you know that I'm not reapplying to be to the community board. I've been on for 10 years, and I love this committee and I love the work, but it's time for me to maybe get on a picket line or do something else. So until we find someone, and I don't know, Myra, if you want to say something.
Yeah, well, I'm also not applying for reappointment on the community board. So the timing is not great since both
Yeah.
Lisa and I are going off the board at the same time. But it's been not quite as long as Lisa, but it's been a long haul. So I'm ready for other things.
Right, so, I mean, we will try to see who will chair the committee, because we will go business as usual. But we do need to chair the committee to make it a committee.
Mhm.
And we'll play it by ear, but for now, I think it's safe to assume that we won't have a meeting in April. We always sort of end for summer vacation early and not having a meeting in June. But, you know, we should have another meeting before we close for the summer break. And clearly, I do plan to participate in meetings as, like Herb, as a member of the community. So,
It's a huge loss, you know that. Right? It's a huge loss, the two of you. I want to say thank you personally. I'm not on any of the boards or the committees, but I've known you for many years, Lisa. Wonderful worker, very engaged person, very kind, very smart. I know Myra a little less well, but I felt really shaken when I read that you will not be chairing the committee.
yeah, well, thank you, Mary.
Thank you very much for serving.
Thank you. But I can't leave until I have a plan B for this committee. I would never just run out. So I want to talk about that at the end. Julie, you're the center member here. Is there anything you'd like to share about RSS or anything else in the aging community that might be of interest to everybody?
Well, this, on the program side, you know, this Sunday, we are doing a St. Patrick's Day celebration. So the center will be open from 10 to 3. Also, we are desperately seeking a driver for our transportation program. So if there's any way that, I don't know if the community board will share postings of jobs, but, you know, Lisa has my email. I could put it in the, oh, there's no chat on this. But
Right.
we've run into so many roadblocks trying to fill that position. So we are looking for a driver, but the positions available are on our website, rssny.org. Click on careers and it'll show you, you know, the jobs that we have available. But that's the number one position that we're really looking to fill is the transportation driver.
I believe the Y is looking for the same person.
It's been tough. You know, I raised the salary.
Mm,
We've interviewed a number of people, but they don't come with a clean driving record.
right.
So that's part of the problem because they need to pay for and bring what they call an abstract from motor vehicles that shows they have no moving violations.
Right. And there's a certain class because.
Yes, that's very important. Yes, it's a CDL. It's a class CDL with a class B passenger endorsement. So it's not a regular driver's license. Yeah.
And Amazon, it looks for drivers all the time and they pay corporate
I'm
wage.
sure they pay a lot more.
Yeah. So,
But anyways,
Thank
please
you.
share that. It's on our website. We really need a driver.
thanks. Miriam, is there anything you'd like to share about what's going on in the hospice?
Nothing new. We also have to deal with staffing shortages, which affects people who are at home and who would like to have an aide who is supporting them. But no, I've been presenting in the community on the importance of the VANS directives. It's been well received, and that's what I'm currently focusing on.
Terrific. That was so ingenious, what you put together for the advanced directive. It was great. The cards, yeah, so simple. Yeah. Great. Okay, so, before we go, right, sorry, I always have to say that out loud. Approval of our February minutes for the Aging Committee. Lee, are you saying, let's approve?
One minor correction at the end, there's the resolution. Just correct the spelling of my name. It's an O-N-G, not a U-N-G. Ergo, after that, I approve the minutes.
A second.
Do that. Thank you. Rita, could you raise your hand if you agree for the minutes? Okay, we have so Rita approved, and we have majority, so thank you, everyone. The last one I'd like to go over, unless anyone else has any new business or.
Oh.
Lee, go ahead.
I just wanted to let people know on Thursday, I think it's still on, there's a rally down at City Hall for the fair pay for home care workers. It's the second rally, I believe, that we're having, and RSS is going, I think, through our Social Action Committee. And I don't know if any of the other senior centers are going or attending this rally, but it's, I believe, Julie, is it 11 o'clock a.m.? I think it's 11 a.m.
I believe so, yes.
Right, so we're gonna go down, and now I know why we're taking a cab, no driver.
Thank you. Thank you, Lee. Okay, I'm going to share screen again. I want to let you know I presented this at the board's executive committee meeting, and we'll also present it at tomorrow's board meeting. It's something, it's for a restructuring of the board committees. And again, part of my goal is to help make sure that the needs of older adults in the community are addressed and continued. Now, of course, if we get a huge, new members are coming in, so it's a very difficult time to even push this forward now. We'll have a new officers, new elected chairs coming up in June. But I wanted to put this out there for consideration, but I really want to get your opinion and if there's any unintended consequences that you see that if we make this change might not support older adults and our community centers who support older adults in our community. So let me see if I can get the right thing up here. Here we go. Just as I'm getting good at this too. Okay, so this is, and Georgia, I think you have a hard copy of this sort of restructuring. And I wanted to make sure that we have committees that will continue on. So it's sustainable, that it supports older adults and other groups in our community, and that is unbiased. So the proposal here, currently we have we have an aging committee, we have a youth committee, we have a special committee, which is not a standing committee on veterans. And we also have awards that everyone's coming up with their own award now. I shouldn't say it that way, but so I really think we might get more interest from both board members as well as members in the community if we form a community engagement committee with 3 basic goals. One, to support our centers. I mean, a lot of our centers support older adults and youth, and like Kingsbridge Heights or the Y, or then there's intergenerational programs too that RSS has a lot of get schools involved with their programs. So it's to support our centers, to support everyone in our community, get people connected, engage other institutions. We talked before about possibly getting our, I don't know. I mean, there's smaller groups that try to engage our community. They're forming, they're having oh God, there was a wonderful thing that was hosted at the Y, but it was a local group. So I think Bronx, for example, to get people together and celebrate together and be a community together. And there might be religious organizations that also have programs for older adults and for others as well. And to promote volunteerism. None of us can function without the unpaid work from the heart of people, of individuals in the community. So this is really, as I said, it's not an aging, youth, veterans, awards, committee. It's a new committee, but if we're focused on supporting our centers that support our different age cohorts in many different ways, I'm hoping, that we'll get more board members involved, we'll get more people in the community involved. And quite frankly, I think part of the issue is having our meetings at 4 p.m. So if we do it at 7 o'clock, like all the other committees meet at 7 o'clock, I think we'll get more board members to attend and a diverse group from the community to attend and participate. Well, it's interesting. Youth has an issue too. They only have 2 or 3 board members and very few participants. So this will help other committees as well to be sustainable by having a larger group, a more robust committee. But hopefully this committee won't have to focus on older adults every meeting, so that maybe it's only 4 times a year or 5 times a year that we'll have to disrupt people's evenings to attend these meetings. I am sensitive to that. That's basically the proposal. The other one really doesn't touch us, but it's a rebranding for the Health Hospitals Committee. Again, to get more people interested, to focus on what this committee does. Where it might touch is a lot of people say, well, combine, it's interesting. Miriam, you know this, that I think one of the few other boards that has a separate aging committee is in Upper Manhattan, in Washington Heights.
Community Board 12.
Community Board 12 in Manhattan. And they have a very robust committee. And we don't see that too often. Mostly boards are combining it with the health committee, which we're more interested in aging well in the community. And I think that's really, I don't know, I personally do not want to see it combined with health, aging and a health committee. It will set us, not set us back. I don't want to sound ableist either. It's important issues, but I think the focus on the community, living well in the community, focus on community well-being and
it should be aging and wellness,
right,
but not aging and health.
Right.
It's ageism and it's stereotyping.
Yeah, thank you. So, thank you. And so that's why I'm hoping to rebrand it. And, the health committee had wonderful speakers, but they're not getting enough participants either. So perhaps the rebranding might help in some ways. Youth is often combined with education, but I think education is different than youth in the community. Kingsbridge Heights community does different things than schools. So I think, combining our efforts together, combining with veterans. Veterans right now is a special committee. It has to be renewed every year. This will help baseline, right? This will get focus on veterans in a standing committee. And because of also the volunteerism focus, we want to take care of Memorial Grove and to make sure that it's housed somewhere forever, and focused on, not up to the next generation. So,
Thank you for that.
thank you, right. Yeah, so hopefully this will,
Mhm.
move forward. I hope. But we'll see. It will take a while, for the board to move forward on it. It will require a change of bylaws. And again, we're at a turnover point in officers and chairs and board members, as you can tell. So we'll see how things move on.
Lisa,
Yes,
are you planning to propose this at tomorrow's full board meeting?
yes, but it will be for discussion. I actually have a resolution that I drafted, but it's too soon to forward. One is all the committees, and I believe youth and veterans have talked about it. I haven't seen their minutes, but Sergio and Julie, the chair, said that they were going to discuss it, and they were pleased with this proposal. But it will also then have to go to Law Rules and Ethics Committee for a bylaws change, and then it has to be voted on twice by the full board to make this change. So that's why in the meantime, it's business as usual. I will try my best to make sure that this committee continues. Maybe there's some options we have, but again, I plan to participate and support. Myra, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think this is a great idea. I think it will sort of recenter the type of outreach and involvement of different facets of the community. And, with small groups of people like us and the youth committee, small groups trying to reach out in big ways, I think that the group will be basically it's hard for me to explain, focused on outreach, which is what exactly you're proposing here, that will also pertain to all different ages. I know I'm not explaining this, but I just think that this would be a way to, put a circle around the aging population, the youth population, and bring them, somehow congeal those two groups together on some levels.
Great. Any other comments, concerns? My big concern, I have one, and I'll say it. I don't know if it's going to be on the next committee. We need to make sure that aging is not ignored as we have new people on the board, on the committee. We're going through generation changes, and so I'll be very specific and vocal, and hopefully everyone else will too, to make sure that the new committee, if it goes through, does spend, at least a third of the time on aging issues, and make sure that our needs gets in our budget requests, which is an important role that we have.
My concern as a person of the aging cohort and as a person who joins the committee meetings is, how do we bring the information that we garner here or that we gather from outside speakers to the community and the different organizations within the community? If they're not joining our meetings due to time constraints or lack of interest, it's nice what we are establishing here, and it's informative, but we're 10 people today. What are we doing with that information? How do we disseminate it to A, the community, and B, centers, social service agencies, houses of worship, et cetera, so that they know legislative changes as well as practical changes.
Yeah, we talk about outreach. Well, hopefully a committee focused on outreach and engagement will do that, put the emphasis there, let people know what's going on, and hopefully, so it has to be crafted very carefully. But thank you, Miriam. That's a huge point to bring up. Any other comments? Any other outstanding issues or not? Well, thank you, everyone. It's been my honor to be chair of this committee. I loved it. This is the reason why I joined the board in the first place. Back then, Irving Latimer, I don't know if you all remember him, but very special person. And anyway, so hopefully I couldn't carry other people who have chaired this committee. Very special. And thank you for letting me ramble on here. Hopefully we've made a difference. And
You did a great job, Lisa.
Absolutely.
I admire you
Agree
so
with you.
much.
Yeah.
I wish you would stay on, Lisa,
Yeah, and with so much grace and wisdom, both.
Mhm.
and knowledge.
Right,
Yes.
and commitment.
great. Well, I will see you all on Zoom or in person, and depending on where the meetings are. Not leading the committee and being a member of this age cohort living in the community. So thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Lisa.
Thank you.
Be
Bye-bye.
well,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, Lisa. Great job. Let's see you again next year.
Thank you, Herb. And again, I'm so glad you joined us. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye.
Thank you, thanks.
Thank you for letting me attend.
Thank you for joining. Okay, bye.
Good night.